I don't know how to do shit without cussing. That's the problem. Chefs cuss. That's the thing, bro. I'm just trying to cuss because that's what we do as chefs.
Well, you can do it. Just put bleeps in then.
Alright. ¿Qué pasa, mi raza? So welcome to Firme Foods, the channel where I show y'all some firme recipes to make some really good food. Anyways,
so today we're going to be making two different sets of chilaquiles. We're going to make salsa verde y salsa roja. So for the salsa verde chilaquiles, you're going to want to get some parsley. Nah, I'm just playing. Parsley got no flavor. Cilantro is where it's at, so that's what we want. Then we're going to get some serrano peppers just for a little bit of kick and taste. A couple pieces of ajo or garlic. And then we're going to get tomatillos. So tomatillos are going to come in a leaf. So all you want to do is just take off the leaf and then take off the stem, which I'll show you how to do later. And then we're also going to put in a cebolla. So the cebolla is going to be cut in half, and half of it's going to go to the salsa verde, and the other half is going to go to the salsa roja. So the salsa roja va a ser bien sencilla. It's just going to be some roma tomatoes you can find at any kind of mercado out there, some couple clavos of ajo or garlic pieces, and some serrano, and the cebolla again. So now let's get to prepping and getting our salsa bien firme. So the first thing we're going to do is cut our onions. So we're going to take the top out first and then cut down long ways. You got to make sure your knives are sharp, that way your knife's doing all the work and not your hand, because other than that you're going to stress your hand out. You don't want stress on your hand because it's, you know, hurt your hand. You don't want to hurt your hand. We're having fun, we're cooking, that's what we're doing out here. So once you take the skin off of your onion, we're going to get down to quartering it. So you take half of it, you're going to take the root off. We don't need it right now, so just throw it away like Rosito threw away his life and blood out. Cut down long ways, turn it around, cut down long ways again, and then here's we're going to cut in a little corner. So you're going to cut that little corner right there, you're going to grab it, turn it around, and we're going to cut it again so it could be bien firme. And I know some of you are wondering, hey fool, so how you like cut an onion and you don't cry? Because I be crying a lot, but you know, it's okay because vatos cry. You know what, Holmes? Vatos do cry, but let me give you the secreto, that way the clica doesn't make fun of you.
The secret to not crying when you cut onions is get over your childhood trauma.
So now that we realize we're the reason why our parents got divorced, we can move on with our lives and move on with our cooking. So half of these guys we're going to set aside for the salsa roja and the other side is the salsa verde. So this part is going to go with the salsa roja. Then we're going to grab our cebolla and we're going to put it into our cebolla. It already has another cebolla in it, but we're not going to mention that. So we're going to put that off to the side and move on. So now we're going to move on to cutting the stems off our tomatillos. There's better ways to do this, easier ways and less dangerous ways, but this is how I was taught in the kitchen. Shout out to Juan and Noe. So you're going to grab your knife like that close to the end, kind of use it like a little spoon, or you can just use a spoon, and you're just going to slowly go around in a circle and get the top right off. So I'll show you guys how to do it again, just like that, real slowly. Let the knife do all the work. You don't want to push too much in, or else the knife's going to go right through and you're going to cut your hand, like I'm going to do it right now. Watch, you're going to watch me cut my hand, right? Psych. I'm good at this. I've been doing this for a while. I know this technique, so I know how to do this. I know how to stop. But just remember, guys, be careful. And if you don't want to do this technique because you're scared, I understand. It's okay. You can honestly use a spoon. It's probably going to be a lot easier. Anyways, we're going to have to take off the stems of our serranos because we don't want that in our salsas. So we're using that little knuckle right there. Use that as a guiding because you don't want to cut your fingers. That's a bad idea. So just swoop down and cut. And there you go. Simple as that.
Alright, so for this part, this is very important. I want to stress this because I don't want you guys to overdo this step. You don't want to actually boil any of this stuff. You want to just make it sweat. So para que sude, you're going to put the water level, not too much, but enough to cover everything. So right there, good enough, it's covering it. Put everything in there. And boom. Little tomatillos, or little ajo pieces. You don't want to boil the cilantro.
But now we're going to prep the salsa roja, which is going to be about the same steps as the salsa verde. We're just going to take the tops off, so the red tomatoes over here. Remember the roma tomatoes, you can find them anywhere. Just go ahead and stick the knife in there and go around slowly in a circle. It's okay if you guys take your time on this. It doesn't have to be quick, fast, and easy. You know, it takes time to get used to these techniques, to these ideas of how to use the knife and everything. So just try to get used to using a knife, or you could just use a spoon. Like a spoon's a lot easier, maybe even a fork. So now I want to get into the claw technique. So you're going to get your hand and you're going to claw like a ruca when you're in bed together. And that knuckle right there, you're going to use that as your guide. So wherever that knuckle goes, that's exactly where your blade's going to go, because you don't want to cut your fingers off. So now you're going to take that knuckle and you put your filero right next to it, right there, come down, swoop, and then cut. Remember, let your knife do all the work for you. So same as last time, we're going to check to see if our water level's good. Check that. All right, cool, that's good. So we're going to put in our jitomates, we're going to put in our peppers, we're going to put in our cebollas and the pieces of ajo, and we're going to take these guys over to the fridge. Nah, I'm just playing. We're taking them to the stove, and we're going to put them on medium-high heat because we just want to make them sweat, not boil.
As an adder, we're going to add the consomme into the little water as soon as it starts to boil. This is just to give it a little bit more flavor, because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want flavor. We don't want no bland chilaquiles.
This is a good point to tell you guys that I don't do too much of measurements. We're just going to put a couple shakes in there, a couple shakes in this one, and then we're going to stir it up a little bit. I don't really do too much measurements, but I'll try my best to give y'all the measurements.
Alright, so while we're going to wait for these guys to boil, we're going to go get down like James Brown.
So now that we got down and we washed our hands, we're gonna check up back on these guys to see how they're doing so far. So as you can kind of see, they don't have too much of a give to them. We want a bit more sauce, so it's not too much work for the blender because our blender sucks because we're poor. So we're gonna keep it on there for a little bit longer, and this is when we're gonna prep our tortillas. So the tortillas we got today are guerreros, and we got the sponsorship with them. Yeah, just playing. We ain't got no sponsorship, but we're working on that. So we're gonna take a good little puñito, and this is what we're gonna use for our chilaquiles. So chilaquiles, since they are mainly a tortilla dish, we gotta get as much tortillas as we can. And that's how we're gonna prep them. We're gonna cut from 12 to 6. Remember the claw method. Then we're gonna cut for 3 to 7. I can't tell time, but you guys can see what I'm doing right here. Then we hit 5 to 6, and then 4 to 2. There you go. It's todo. So now that we got our tortillas looking nice and triangular, we're gonna work on dicing that onion. So you're gonna take your cebolla, and you're gonna take the cebolla that you had in there, and you're gonna take it out, but you're gonna leave the other cebolla in there. So we're going to go with the grooves of the onion. You don't want to go cut straight into it because that's the way you're going to mess up. You're not going to get as much out of the onion as you can. So we're going to go along with the grooves of it. We're going to cut about a third of an inch. We don't want too fine of a dice. We don't want it crazy stupid fine, but we do want it fine. So you cut all the way to the edge, and then we're going to make a little cut at the bottom and then at the top. So this little cut is just to make sure everything comes out nice and even, not anything leaving too long, nothing too short. And then once you get that top cut in there, we're going to chop it up at two homies that haven't seen each other since the pinta, and just let the knife do the work. Look at that, silky smooth. That's what we want the whole way through. So just like before, we're going to split these guys into two. Half of them are going to go with the Salsa Verde chilaquiles, and the other ones with the Salsa Roja chilaquiles. So now that the vegetables are sweated out like a pregnant nut, we're going to drain them so we could get a little bit more of a thicker sauce. Because I don't know about you guys, but I like thicker sauces. So look at that. You know what? We're going to take a little bit more water out just so it could be a bit more thicker because I really like thick sauces. Once you got that all drained out, we're going to put it into a really terrible blender we've had for about 12-15 years. And these are our spices. We're going to use garlic powder, kosher salt, freshly ground black pepper, smoked paprika, and some cayenne pepper. We're going to do about 1 tablespoon of garlic powder and about 3 grinds of freshly ground black pepper, along with about 3 teaspoons of salt, kosher of course. We're going to use the little technique right here, pop pop pop, just make sure we don't over salt it. About 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika and 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. So this cayenne pepper is strong, we kind of don't want too much in. Alright, so now we're just going to pulse it a little bit just to crush it up a bit, make it easier for the blender to do its job. And we're going to grind it and make sure it gets liquefied. Now that it's liquefied, we're going to salt and pepper it to taste. And I kind of forgot to put the cilantro in, so we're going to put it in right now just real quick and grind it up again. And then salt and pepper it to taste, and then once it's good, that's the wolf. We're going to do the same thing we did with the salsa verde, and we're just going to thin it out to leave a little bit of water. If you want a thinner sauce, then you leave more water in it, and you can always thin it out as you go. If it comes out a lot thicker than you want it to, just make sure you put a little bit more water in it just to thin it out. We're going to pulse it, and then we're going to put in our seasonings. Now it doesn't make too much of a difference if you add in your seasonings before you pulse and liquefy it, unless you're a 5-star chef from Ratatouille. But I'm not, we just trying to have fun here, so that's how we're going to do it. So we're going to put in your seasonings as before. We're going to put in the little salt trick just to make sure we don't over salt it. And then we're going to liquefy everything all over again so all the flavors can come together, and we're going to come up with a salsa that looks a little bit like this. Now I don't know about you guys, but that's a creamy looking salsa right there. Like I could just drink that right now if I wanted to. So these are the salsas we're going to be using. We got the salsa verde on the left and then the salsa roja on the right. Now let's get to making the chilaquiles. But first, let's talk about cheese. So the salsa roja chilaquiles, you're going to take some of the mozzarella cheese, and the salsa verde, we're going to take the pepper jack cheese. So the pepper jack cheese is comes as a brick, and we're going to just grate it down. Once everything's prepped, you're ready to go. So you're going to put our pan on medium-high heat, and we're going to be using vegetable oil today. So once you see the bubbles, ya está listo, it's ready to go. Time to get to cooking. So you want to put in your onions for a little bit, and you can put them in for at least like 3 to 5 minutes just to give them some color, give them, time for the scent, the aroma to come out. Give them a little bit of salt, and then put in your tortillas. So tortillas, you're going to want to make sure they're mixed up and everyone's got like their own little space, because we don't want our tortillas to clump up together during the frying process. Because we want to make sure we have nice and even fried tortillas. And after you fried the tortillas to your desired doneness, it's time to put in our salsa. So we're going to get a really big spoon, and we're going to put the salsa verde right up in there. So we're going to get about 1, 2, maybe even 3 cucharas just to make sure we have enough salsa for everybody, to make sure all the tortillas kind of take in that flavor. So you mix it up, have it everybody nice and smothered, bien bañadas. You know what, we're going to put another cucharita just to make sure we have enough salsa, because we don't want to run out of salsa. And ya que está todo bañadas, we're going to cap it and make sure all the flavors really integrate into the tortillas. That way all the tortillas can get all the flavor, or else it's just going to be bland chilaquiles. After all the flavors are together, we're going to put about 1/2 cup of cheese on top of the chilaquiles and turn our heat down. So we're going to turn our heat down, make sure we don't burn any of our tortillas, but also melt the cheese, because man, mira ese queso, chulada. So now that our cheese is nice and melted and all the flavors are together, we're going to kill the heat and take it. Just calms down, and we don't want to burn ourselves, because the last thing you want to do with your food is burn yourself while eating it, because then your tongue gets burned and you can't even eat it. After about 5 to 10 minutes, we're ready to plate up, and man, this cheese is too good, man. I like cheesy chilaquiles. You can make them cheesier, just add more cheese if you want. It's totally up to you.
So make sure we get a little good mouthful. Ooh, there we go. It's hot, I should have waited.
So now it's time to get funky with the Salsa Roja Chilaquiles. So it's gonna be the same process as before. We're gonna heat up our saucepan to medium-high heat, and you're gonna use vegetable oil. While I use vegetable oil, you can use whatever kind of oil you want. Vegetable oil is just the way to go for me. So when you get chilaquiles in a restaurant, typically you'll get them with either shredded chicken or you'll get them with eggs, or even both. So we're gonna show you how to shred the chicken. I'm using chicken breast, and I just lightly salted salt. Words mean things. I lightly salted these things beforehand, so now let's get into cooking them off. So first off, we're gonna do the eggs. Psych. Alright, thought you was gonna do chicken first. Nah, just gonna do the egg real quick. So egg, just make sure it's on high heat, make sure it's cooked fully through. We're gonna just scramble these guys, add a little bit of salt, and even add a little bit of pepper, just get a little bit of taste on these guys real quick. And you're just gonna scramble them up. So we're gonna scramble these guys to about 80% of the way done, since we are gonna have to cook them with tortillas later on. So we're just gonna let them chill off to the side for a bit, and then we'll get on the chicken. So the chicken, like I said, is lightly salted, lightly black peppered. The sauce is gonna bring it on most of the flavors. So we're gonna make sure you cook it about 80% of the way, and once it's cooked about 80% of the way, you're gonna wanna take it off the heat and then put it into a bowl. Now once you got those in a bowl, you wanna take 2 forks and we're gonna stick that fool like he's a lane talking papas on the clica. Oh, get that fool. Yeah, that's right, get that fool, little joker. And then after that, we're just gonna go through the same process as before. We're gonna put in the oil into the thing just to make sure we fry up our tortillas. First of all, the onions, and let them brown for another 3 to 5 minutes, just like before. You generally only want to saute onions till they get that kind of color, or until you start to sun a little bit. And then we're gonna put in our tortillas just like before. You're gonna mix them up, fry them up, do what you gotta do. Then we're gonna put in the chicken. So when you put in the boil, you're gonna make sure it gets all over there, and then you put in the huevos también. And at this point, you want to get a little, another little mix in. Make sure everybody gets to know each other, then just cap it and then wait for it to chill off for a bit. All the flavors can get in. After about 3 minutes, we're going to go ahead and take the top off, mix it up a little bit, and then put in our salsa to continue the rest of the cooking and finish our chilaquiles. So initially I put 3 or 4 cucharillas just to make sure I had enough salsa. Then I ended up finding out I actually didn't have enough salsa. So I should have made more salsa in the beginning, but hey, it's a learning process. We all learn together. And we're just going to cap it and let these flavors get to know each other and stay in the salsa to really take that salsa flavor in there, because that's where all the flavor is going to come from, is the salsa. Now after that's done, we're going to sprinkle some cheese on the top, cap it again, and then just wait.
Ooh, look at all that cheese.
Yes, dude. The Salsa Roja Chilaquiles are just a little bit more advanced, but it's really just a couple extra steps. That's all cooking really is. It's a couple extra steps and how much effort you're willing to put into it. And remember, the more you put into the meal, the more you're going to get out of the meal. So vamos a ver qué pedo. We're going to plate up our meal, give it a little taste test, and see what's up.
Mira. Todo ese queso. It is hot, I should wait, but this looks really good, so I'm gonna just eat it. Yeah, it's hot. So there we have it. That's our first episode of Cocinando con Bruce Leroy here at Feeding Me Foods. Next time, you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. Next time we're gonna bring somebody in. They're gonna showcase their recipe and they're gonna show us how they do it. And that's gonna be called Vatos Who Cook. Or, if it's a lady, Hainas Who Cook. We might do that, or I might do another Cocinando con Bruce Leroy. I don't know. We'll see. Hit the comment section below. Let me know what's up.